Hi, it's been a while. Today I am going to tell you guys my story. I'm going to start with before I was diagnosed and end with modern day. So grab a bag of popcorn and here we go. So for as long as I can remember, I would have these segments of not remembering. Um, and I remember I used to be in like a basketball club thing, and I would cry every single game because I probably would have been having seizures, and then I'd come out of it and I'd have no idea where I am. And so for to a little 5-year old, that is terrifying. Um, but it wasn't until second grade where I was diagnosed. My computer teacher at the time, um, she knew that I was really good with computers. And at the beginning of class, we would turn on our computers, we would sign in, and we would do what we needed to do for that day. But this one day, I couldn't turn on the computer. I would be just absent. I would be there, but mentally I would not be there. And so my computer teacher, she called my mom, who was working right across the street at the preschool, and she said something's not right. He can't turn on the computer, and so my mom knew not to take this lightly because my sister, she is also epileptic, but she grew out of hers. So she knew not to take this lightly and to she picked me up and took me home and scheduled a neurologist appointment. So later that year, I was diagnosed with everything under the sun: epilepsy, ADD, ADHD, learning disorders, and like you name it, I was probably diagnosed with it. So I was diagnosed with a whole bunch of shit, and I I lived like that for a little bit. I was put on Depakote, and some of you might know that, some of you might not know that. It did its job well. It did its job really well, but the side effects were terrible, for me at least. I was in third grade and I weighed 120 pounds. So I my parents didn't want that for me. Um, it made me one hell of a baseball player though. I could hit a baseball really far. um, so I was also on ADD medication that really did nothing for me because my ADD and dyslexia are just symptoms of my epilepsy. Um, and so we didn't really even know that until I was 17. Um, we went to a whole bunch of different doctors, and this set of doctors would say no, he has ADD, and then the neurologist would say no, it's just his side effects of seizures. Until we finally went to this one guy who gave me an extensive test. It was like a test that lasted 3 appointments, and I had like one appointment a week, and so it was um, a definite you have ADD or you don't have ADD. We concluded that I don't have ADD. I don't have dyslexia, but the side effects of my epilepsy completely and utterly mimic ADD and dyslexia. I don't know if that's for everybody, but I do know that it is. something that I have. When for a few years after third grade, I was in karate. I was doing baseball. I took a break off of basketball, but I would still play with my dad every once in a while. Um, Karate was probably one of the more dangerous things for me because if I got hit in the head, it probably wouldn't be good. Luckily, I've never had a concussion, so we don't know. But yeah, I stopped. Um, I stopped Taekwondo when I was in fifth grade, and continued with baseball for another season. Um, and then it was off to sixth grade. Big old sixth grader. My episodes had pretty much gotten under control by then. I was put on a new cocktail of medicine that really worked. And I do remember I went in for an EEG one day, and I had a seizure. I had an Epson seizure. That's the seizures that I have. So I had an episode that day. I remember the the learning specialist at my school. He said, I told him that I had just come back from an EEG, and he was like, "Oh, how did it go? Are you doing okay?" Now that I think back, I think he could tell that there was something up too, because I was spacey, and I wasn't talking correct. But I said, "Yeah, I'm fine," because that's what I typically end up saying. Like, "I'm fine, don't worry about me, I'm just tired," stuff like that. And so I went into my health class, and we were reading, and it was the old-fashioned way where this person reads a paragraph, and this person reads a paragraph, and this person reads a paragraph, and it got to me, and the teacher had to help me read. Basically, I would read and then I would stop, and he would say the sentence or the word, and luckily I didn't have a big paragraph, I don't think. But yeah, so that was one of the episodes that I remember from middle school. I didn't really have much. Like I said, by then my epilepsy had been, and still is, pretty much under control. My sophomore year of high school, it was around my birthday, and I got food poisoning. And as some of you might know, food poisoning and epileptics are not friendly. The following day I had a grand mal seizure. I was having really bad Epson seizures since I had woken up. I went down for a nap because that always helps. I just go down for a 2-hour nap and I wake up and I'm perfectly fine. But this time I went down for my nap and I woke up with 7 EMTs around me, my mom next to me crying, and my dad was behind me holding my head. So that was my first grand mal seizure. I don't look back at it as something bad though. I definitely learned from the experience, and it was kind of an eye-opener. Since then I have been really careful about everything that I do. I always get my 8 hours of sleep, which a lot of my classmates, I'm a junior in college now, A lot of my classmates are jealous of me. Um, um, but yeah, so I always get my 8 hours of sleep. I'm careful with what I eat, what I drink, and even if it's the silliest question, I always ask whoever's serving me or my neurologist or whoever. Um, but when I was at the hospital after that first grand mal seizure, they gave me clonazepam, and I was supposed to be given, I think it was like half a milligram. They ended up giving me 2 milligrams, and I was loving life. Boy, I don't remember this at all. Apparently, they gave me crackers, and I called one of my friends and I said, "They gave me crackers. I don't know which one to eat first." And I was flirting with all the nurses. um, my sister came in, and she doesn't really cry too much. But she came in, and she really likes cars, and so she said that we're gonna build up your Jeep. We're gonna build up your Jeep, and it's gonna be really good. Still counting on that, Stephanie. Um, and so yeah, so since then I've have a prescription for clonazepam, for on an as needed basis. Luckily, I don't really need to take it too much. Um, so after that, like I said, I was being very diligent and careful with everything that I do. Um, and things were going good for good 2 years after that. Um, until my family and I took a trip to Chicago. It was kind of a last minute-ish thing. We had planned it, but there was no real reason to go to Chicago. My parents loved it there, because we were. I remember it was the day that we were supposed to leave for Chicago, and there was so much snow on the ground here, and it was beautiful. I live in Albuquerque, Mexico, which is a desert, so whenever it snows, it is amazing, and you savor the moment. But yeah, so it was snowing, and I got just this feeling. Let's stay. Let's not go to Chicago. But I said that even, but it was kind of like I don't know, like maybe this is just so beautiful, and so we ended up going to Chicago, and the first few days were really fun. We went for I think it was like 4 days, but I got the stomach flu, and I threw up. We were playing Heads Up. My parents had never played it before, so when we were playing that, and then all of a sudden, I needed to throw up, and so I ran to the bathroom, and like probably 2 hours later, because we knew that it's dangerous for me if I am too much. So our hotel was right across the street from an ER, luckily. So after like, I don't know. We took me down to the ER, and they gave me an IV, and I'm pretty sure I was already having absence seizures. They gave me an IV, and I was holding my breath for some reason when he put it in. And so I ended up passing out, which put me to the top of the waiting list. So they put me in basically right away. And so I was there for it felt like hours. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember how late I stayed up. I think I ended up going to bed at around 2, 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. So, but when I was in the ER, the doctor, I finally mellowed. Like, they gave me some anti-nausea medication, which I'm also prescribed, anti-nausea medication, and the doctor gave me an ultrasound for some reason. He said, "Hey, do you want to see your heart?" So I got to see my heart, which was pretty cool. But in the process, he pushed down on my stomach really hard, which caused me to throw up again. So that caused me to be there for another 30 minutes. So finally ended up leaving the hospital and got about 5 hours of sleep. My biggest seizure trigger is lack of sleep. So 5 hours of sleep, absence seizures, throwing up, stress. We were waiting by the gate in the Chicago airport, and I went down for a nap because I knew that I needed some sleep because I didn't get a lot the previous night. And I remember starting the grand mal seizure. I remember feeling my face tense up. And I said something, but I don't remember what I said before I started the seizure. And as luck would have it, there were 3 doctors in the terminal in gates just around us. So we ended up, I remember waking up, I had a pool of vomit right next to me on my mom's nice jacket. And that's all I remember seeing. I was just laying on my side completely still because I couldn't move. But I remember hearing a man say, can I go now? My plane is about to take off. And my dad said, yeah, go ahead. Because I was conscious. EMTs were on the way. And so we just had me take it easy for a bit. EMTs came up and the ambulance was on the tarmac. Tarmac? One of those two. So I got to, it's really expensive to have an ambulance drive onto the tarmac. In case you were curious. So I was pretty conscious during the during the ride to the airport. I remember hearing the sirens go off, which I don't really remember too much. It doesn't really happen too much. I've been in an ambulance 4 times. So that was pretty cool. Gotta look for the positives in each of these situations, you know? That is one lesson that I recommend. If you're in any sort of bad time, look for just the little positives and it'll make all the difference. So it was really cool hearing the sirens. So I was in the hospital and I couldn't wait to get out of there. I just couldn't wait because I was conscious, I was fine, I wasn't having absence seizures because they gave me clonazepam. I was fine. I could have gone home. I could have laid on the bed. This was my mom has memorized the date, but this was end of December. So we finally left. No doctor made me throw up. And they took me back to the hotel and we left the following day after, something like that. So those are the 2 grand mal seizures that I've had. Since then, I've had Epsilon seizures, but I attack it before it could get bad. I just take a clonazepam, I sit myself down in front of a movie, and I just hang out. I don't take too much. For those of you who don't know, the other name for clonazepam is Klonopin. Yeah, so the next episode that I remember, I don't remember the episode, but I remember how I acted on the clonazepam. So I don't know if you guys know this, but like the little Monopoly game that Albertsons has, where they have like the little cards and there's the 4 sections in it, and if you wait, the stack just grows. So we had waited, we hadn't done anything, and so I felt the need to organize them numerically and alphabetically. It was a stack about this big. So that took me about 5 hours. I took it at noon, and then when I was done, I got up and I was like, oh, okay, Mom, so what's for lunch? And she said, it's 5 o'clock. It's dinner time. I was like, oh, damn. So, that's how I acted that one day. Typically, I just sit down and I'm out for the count, so I watch a movie or do something, and I hope I don't say anything stupid. Because I don't typically remember when I'm on this. But since then, like, I have a wonderful girlfriend now who is very good at, she's very understanding, very good at hounding me to take my medicine and be safe when I'm doing anything. This past summer, I was having an episode. I took a clonazepam. I do not remember seeing her that day, but apparently because we were like living together, and so I don't remember her seeing me on clonazepam, but she was at work. I texted her that that I was having a seizure, and she said, take a clonazepam. And I was like, I don't know where it is. I was looking all over the place. She was like, it's on the floor by the door. I was like, where? And so I looked, and there was. So I took it, and then I called my mom and told her that I took a clonazepam. And my neighbor at the time, she said, she said that my neighbor knew about my whole situation. She I don't know if she did, but she would come by and check on me, I think. But I remember my grandma and my dad came by. I ended up spending some time with my dad for a while. I guess Madison, my girlfriend, she came and hung out with us. But yeah. That was my most recent episode, and since then I've had no problem. I'm taking my medicine, I live alone, and wear this with me every day. So it says my name, I'm epileptic, and then what to do if I'm unconscious. So I always wear that. But yeah, so that is my story. If you guys have any questions, of course, leave a comment. Like this video, share it with your friends who might be interested. Share it with your friends, share it with your family. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.